Next up, before we move on to the public hearing, I have a special presentation from Bob Slater. I saw Bob come in. Bob would like to present a proposal to the council about the Reverend Morrison House. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, rest of the council. I don't know if it's a presentation. It's just a bit of information on a meeting we had a couple weeks ago with Councilman Bouchard, the town manager, and some of the Lions folks. Kind of went through where you folks stand. I know I had talked to Sean a couple weeks ago as well. After the meeting, it was discussed of possibly trying to put a warrant article forward this March for just under $1 million to try to open the doors. The problem you got there is, and as of late, we've found out that there's mold in there. We don't know what the scope of that is throughout the building. So there's a lot of things, a lot of balls in the airs with this building. As you know, to get an accurate number, as we've done on the school side, and we hate to do it, but it's not fair to come to the taxpayers, put it on the warrant without them knowing what the ultimate cost is to open the door. You'd hate to come in there with just under $1 million and get into a project and see it's another $1 million or $2 million or $3 million. So a lot of people question us on the school side. Why spend $90,000? Well, we've got to get engineered plans to 20% conceptual, as we're doing with the joint venture with the town next door, trying to bring this forward in March for district office. And, we got to a 20% drawing and renderings, and then we sent it out for pricing. That gets us to step A. Now we've had 2 meetings and made some changes because of cost, and we've moved forward to 50% drawings. That will get us to, drawings where they can get, hopefully, a very accurate GMP, gross maximum price for the project. And this is a new structure, added on next door. So that's the reason for spending up to $90,000 to get structural engineer, to get electrical engineer, HVAC, to get these drawings so we can get accurate bids. So we're working towards that. Same thing we've done in the past with schools and that. So my watching, all the balls in the air here and being involved since 3 years ago, crawling under the building and trying to find the reasoning for the floor and that, and couldn't quite get to it without opening the floor. And then everybody's got ideas, and I know a lot of people in town would like to save the building if all possible. So Dave Woolley, a couple of years ago by the council, went out and did a really nice strategic plan, accurate details from Weston and Sampson. And then as of late last fall, our cove was hired by the council to go out and do another walkthrough and come up with a way to try to open the building, save the building, and what that cost would be. So I think you had a max on Weston and Sampson of about 3.5 million, and our cove was slightly over 1.5. Being in the business for 40 plus years, you're somewhere in the middle there probably, but there's a lot of unknowns to this building. It's not like a fresh set of blueprints, fresh foundation to put a building on and tie into existing electrical. So you can kind of wipe out all the unknowns because it's there, right? It's all new. So just thinking aloud, I thought I'd come in and just share with you guys, we spent some money to get to where we are with district office, and hopefully we'll have a solid number coming into budget season before bond season, and be able to work with the town. And I do truly appreciate all the work with town staff and the council to try to make this happen for district office. I think it's a wonderful thing that the two governments can work this closely together to try to provide for one another and save our taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. But meanwhile, on to this, you're probably looking at spending some money to get some accurate pricing. So I don't know what that dollar amount is. This is a different type of structure. You got to get certain people that can look at this. They've got to reach out to certain people with these style buildings and that to get you some numbers. So I would highly recommend that you talk with the town manager or direct him to see what that cost may be. Possibly you could get numbers and pricing before bond time or budget season ends, before we go to deliberative. I don't know what the lead times are starting this late in the season, but the town manager has a lot of his resources available to him, and I think that would be the best way. So if the number is 2.4, 2.3, 3.4, because the problem what has happened now is, if you want to open the door to all the nonprofits, which I know there's probably quite a few in town that would love to use the facility, the town's on the hook. You're liable. So if you don't have everything, and like I said, I would help out with some of the concrete work. It cost. As I told Dave back when he first did this, I don't mind doing that, but until I have a design plan stamped by a structural engineer, I'm not going to do a thing in the building, because I don't want the town on the hook. So electrical, you're going to need to go through an electrical engineer. You're going to need to make sure everything is up to code. HVAC up to code. Sprinklers if needed. I know there's 2 stories to that. I don't know. I'm not a code enforcer. But I just know if you're going to open the door on a day-to-day basis for these nonprofits and people to use this, you need to make sure the town has a safe building that people can use. So that's where you get into that. And to Council Paul, your idea of raising money is a great idea, but once we have a number, it's good. Say it's 2.5 and the voters approve it, right? Now we could start fundraising. Now you could put it in for up at the state level, for some grants and that. But until we know what that money is, because if you put it up for grant money now, you may raise 100,000, 200. But what if it doesn't go forward? I don't know how that works. It's kind of out of my realm. But to fundraise is a great idea. Once the voters say yes, now you could start fundraising and say, hey, we've got the voters' approval. That would bring the cost down that you would need to spend on the building. So they're all great ideas.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So I do agree fundraising is definitely the way to go with this. But like you just said, about the concrete, right? So if the town puts out a kind of an outcry to, you said HVAC, master electricians, do we need plumbers as well?
You're going to need plumbing. You're going to need everything to build a building.
If we put an outreach to them, or an outcry to say, who would be willing to donate time? Obviously, we're not going to ask them to donate all the goods, but at least the time, because that's the most expensive part in construction. So, if we could get things like that donated, that has to come after we have the plans, correct?
Yeah, because what, let me back up just a little bit. The town's not set up to run a project like this. We don't have the personnel. That's like the school side. We work with construction managers or a general contractor. So during this process, the council or building committee, whatever you set up to do this, would select a construction manager to work, with that committee. Once the drawings are put together and scoped out, now they can go out to bids, and anyone from the town council can recommend, hey, can you try, this electrician? Can you try this HVAC? Now he's got blueprints. It's a town project. He might have said, I'll help you out. Now he's got a set of blueprints. He might say, this is a $200,000 job. I'll do it for $180,000. But you'll have 2 or 3 other bids to make sure that number is the right number too.
I understand that process. So I'm just thinking, because I remember Fish and Game. He happened to be here today, but they did all of the Grange.
Yep.
For
brand
free.
new building.
That was like $30,000 they donated to fix all the electricity.
Sure.
One of their members was a master electrician. Like, that would be awesome.
Yep.
If we could find
And-
that same sort of thing that would do stuff.
Exactly, but if you get the CM on board, construction manager, you get all your plans done, you go out for bid price, the people say yes on this dollar amount at voting. Now the construction manager can go to work for the council and for the taxpayers by going out to bid. This is a probably 3 to 6 month ordeal to get plans done. Then the inviter would be probably an open book. So whatever that building committee would get to see the bids, select the bidder.
I'm just trying to shorten the process a little bit because it's been kicked down the road so long.
I know,
I
but
really would like to see some step being taken. So I just asked one more question. The school already has this would you call it a building manager?
we do not. With a new building, it's a little different.
Okay.
We've sent it out for 2 estimates. Now we're going in for our 50% drawing. In the next 6 to 9 weeks, we will select a construction manager GC with that committee. So that way it'll work through the budget. It'll come in at budget season and we'll work through the voting and that, so.
I was just trying to figure out a way to maybe save some time and some money as if you guys are already in the process.
Right.
Might be able to encourage them to look at this project as well.
Yeah, we started I was in front of you guys in June and started in July. Now we're in October, heading to budget season. So it's a tall task for the town manager, but like I said, he knows a lot of people in the industry as well, and the work he's done and what he shared with us. And Sean, I don't know if you want to hit on any of that.
I'm expecting the price by the 15th of October, so should be next week. We should have some numbers. So he's done a couple of things. He's already talked about the fire suppression companies that would do that work, some of the architectural work, which shouldn't be a whole lot, but there needs to be some. So this is already in progress. We've created the survey. I sent it out to the Lions Club to take a look at and provide feedback to me so we can send it out to our nonprofits to find out what the level of interest is. We go to the voters, we need to say, why are we doing this, what for? Hopefully we'll have nonprofits that say, yes, we want to use it, here's the reason. This is how much we would use it, the nights of the week we would use it, what we need it for, so on and so forth. I told them when the construction manager that he talked about, REAC is the company I'm asking them to do that, I'm looking at finishing that first floor only, making the first floor only operational, and the second floor would not be, at least not at this time. That could be done some other time. But the big thing is to get the hall open so it can be used. So that's the objective. You're going to have to do some things up in the upstairs to deal with wiring and clear out the mold and make sure the roof is sound, because there is some water stains you can see when you walk through there. Make sure that's taken care of. We've got to make sure the septic system works. That has not been investigated at this point. It's not on municipal sewer. And the HVAC system's probably going to have to be replaced. It has to be looked at. And the plumbing issues and all of that. So minimal scope to get the building open, but it's not going to be $956,000, whatever that amount is that I've seen floating around lately here. And that's not going to happen at that price. So we're following the process just because Bob was actually helping me with this, as to what the process that we're going through, and we have to do it very quickly. We are behind the 8 ball because, as you indicated, with the school district office building, we got a little bit more lead time, but even we're sort of, rushed to get through that to get done. And so I'm trying to do the same thing so that we can get a warrant article, at least give you the option to present a warrant article to the voters so you know what that dollar amount looks like. That's the goal. That's what I'm striving for, and these things are already in motion to make that happen, hopefully.
Mr. Town Manager, are you also having the handicap accessibility of the building being looked at as well?
Yes. They're taking the reports that have already been created, that we've already spent money on, and that's already provided quite a bit of the information that they need.
Good.
There was a plan for some work out front. I'm not doing.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of civil work that was planned.
Right, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Right now, the scope I've given is to get the building,
Exactly.
the exterior of the building secure,
Yeah.
so we don't have water coming in. Deal with the mold issue. Make sure the wiring meets code requirements and the plumbing, of course, and then get that first floor. You have to deal with the floor. That first floor operational and can be used. And the upstairs will not be able to be occupied until we do additional work at some other time.
Would it make sense to hook into the sewer line at the road or no?
No, because it's more complicated than that. You have to either go up to the school across the street, across Route 128. You're going to add a lot of costs. If we have to do things to the septic system, it makes sense to update the septic system. Otherwise, you're pumping uphill. You're looking at grinder pumps and far more expense than I think we want to get ourselves into.
So the sewer line doesn't go down Mammoth there?
It doesn't.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get out.
It's either at here or at Matthew Thornton.
Okay.
So we have to cross the roadway, and that just
And
adds,
go up, right.
right, just adds all kinds of costs, and it just makes it unfeasible. I mean, we have
Just
some.
buying out questions that other people might be thinking about, so thank you.
Yeah, no, it's because we looked at it. I actually asked that question. I went to our sewer folks and said, hey, well, why don't we just tie into the system? I realized it's a slope issue, and it just would not be cost effective. And the septic system will work. It has worked for all these years, and it'll work here.
That'd be quite a distance to go for a pipe.
Right, and the septic system may be fine. Maybe there's nothing we have to do, but we need to at least assess that.
Of course.
So I think an important thing to call out, and you had mentioned it in there, but in the conversations I had with you and Bob about this, is that the assessments that we've done before were not a waste. They help contribute towards what we're doing today.
In a big way.
Yeah.
A lot of the work we would have to do otherwise has now been done. Now it's a matter of taking that, and as Bob indicated, there's a design piece of this. We're not building a new building, but you have to have an electrical plan. Someone has to draw that out. I think you understand that. And you have to. It's probably going to require a fire suppression system, and that's something the CM is going to work with our fire department, because again, it's going to be occupied basically for a commercial purpose. We're allowing people to use the space, so we're assuming that. So we're working on getting the price now. If fire tells us nope, the code, you don't have to do that, I don't think that's going to be the case. Then we won't. But we have to follow the rules, just like every other business or residential property in the town.
Bob, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah.
I asked Bob to come and present it to everybody so that everyone could hear it and the public could hear it.
Yep.
Because I think, after that last meeting, there was a lot of people like, what are we going to do?
Sure.
And I really thank you, Bob, for stepping up and giving us some options that we can actually put something on the ballot and let the voters vote, because I still feel like that money issue is tight. 2.5, I don't know. But, it is what it is.
Yeah,
we got to put it on the ballot and let the voters decide what they want to do with the building. So,
And the
this
best-
at least lets us do that.
And the best part about this, and you did this with the school buildings, is this gives us a realistic number. It's not a number that's going to go on the ballot and then, well, we need 2 million
Yeah,
more. It's
correct.
going to be a
Right.
realistic number, and we're going to take the time to do that. So
Well,
thank you.
that's what I heard the last meeting when this was discussed from community members, and it sounds like there's a real interest to open this,
Yeah.
At the safe way. And just so everybody's aware of how much we're going to, put into this building and make it usable. So, and I think there's ways of saving money once you get to the point, like the town manager said, you come up with a figure, then you could start some fundraising to offset. We're doing the same thing at the school with a capital program, trying to raise money in other ways. So you've got to do that legwork. You got to spend a few dollars to get to that point, so then you can lock it in and then see what our voters have to say. So,
And I really like your suggestion with using a GC, or construction manager, either whatever you want to call it, because that allows what you want to do to happen, because then they can put it out to bid with plans and people can volunteer to do it like at cost or at, and then they have plans to work off of.
Companies
Yeah,
step up.
because I know that people had said to you and I that they would be willing to do that, and then they have plans to do that too.
Yep.
So once again, thank you for stepping up, and
Sure.
thank you for coming
Just-
today. I just wanted to present it to everybody so everyone can
I
have
know
the same thing.
a lot of people have passion for this, and it's
Yeah.
been sitting a long time. Dave did a tremendous amount of work. You folks did, with our Cove. So to Sean's point, I think we're going to be somewhere in between them two. That took a lot of the work off the plate for the town manager, so he can get you something sooner than later. So hope it all works out.
The big thing is electricians can go and say, okay, I need this many linear feet of wire, this many sheets of sheetrock.
Yeah.
And if people want to donate that or parts of that, now we'll actually know, because it'll be spelled out in there, how much of that needs to be done. Here's the electrical plan. Can you do this? Well, I can't do all, but I can do this part. Great. Then we'll have that, and they can.
Right.
Then they know what we're asking for from them.
Right.
And the other part is if he hires an electrician or he asks for this, and all of a sudden when he needs it, they can't help. You've got other numbers there, so you're not going to be chasing people around town either. Everybody has good intentions. Sometimes when the timing isn't right, they're just not available. So doing it this way and then looking for those favors if they're available and when will help us out and hopefully, be another great community event to look back on. So just some thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bob.
folks.
Yes.
You bet.
Bob, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, this will get people answers for something
Yeah.
we've been kicking around for 3 years now. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to get to the end of this.